welcome everybody to another very exciting episode of the Teamly Talks podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Becker out of Alexandria, Virginia. Exciting show today, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready because you are about to learn from one of the most successful real estate investors in the entire country. Our guest today has been buying and selling houses since 2013 in a town of only 40,000 people. And yet he consistently averages $1,000 in profit on every deal he's done. He's flipped and rehabbed over 500 properties in Eastern North Carolina, and he's automated his seven-figure business so well that he does all of this working less than 10 hours a week in his real estate investing business. But here's what makes him stand out: his passion. He's helped over 2,000 real estate investors discover how to raise private money without ever asking for money. Let that sink in. In fact, when the banks cut him off and he lost his line of credit at the bank, he raised over $2.1 million in just 90 days in private money, proving that this strategy works even in the toughest of times. Beyond single family homes, he's also a commercial developer of shopping centers and condo communities. He's a national speaker, two-time best-selling author, and past president of the Business Networking International. He and his wife, Carol Joy, who I had the pleasure of meeting a couple weeks ago, call Morehead City, North Carolina home. So it is my pleasure to bring on the show today the private money authority himself, Jay Conner. Welcome to the Teamly Talks podcast, Jay.
Andrew, thank you so much for inviting me to come along and talk about my favorite subject that I'm so passionate about, that being private money. And the reason I'm so excited about it, because once someone masters this strategy, which is very easy to do, following my step-by-step process, it's had the biggest impact on mine and Carol Joy's real estate investing business ever since we started using private money. And yes, it's all about attracting the money without ever asking for money.
Awesome. So Jay, let's get right into this, man. So for someone listening that's never raised a dollar before, number one, if you could just define private money for those who might not exactly know what it is first, but then where does one actually start in this private money process?
Sure. So to be clear, a private money lender, what I'm talking about is an individual, a human being, no institutional money, just ordinary people that are looking for a better and high and secure rate of return than they're getting, maybe in the local bank, or maybe they're sick and tired of the volatility of the stock market and they just want something reliable so they know exactly what they're going to get on their returns. So think of a private lender as just an ordinary person. Carol Joy and I have had 47 individual private lenders funding our deals for years, and they're all ordinary, people. I mean, we're not looking for or attracting rich people per se. We're attracting ordinary people that we first diagnosed that they have a problem and they're not happy with their rates of return. So what's interesting is that none of these 47 private lenders, zero of these private lenders that have been funding our deals, ever heard of private money or private lending. They never heard of how they can take retirement funds that they currently have that they're not happy with their performance and transfer them over to a self-directed IRA company, a third-party custodian. They never heard of that until what do? Lead with a servant's heart, put on our teacher cap that says private money teacher, and just go about educating people on what this world is all about. So we're diagnosing and finding people that have what I call lazy money. I call it lazy money because it's not working. It's not performing near as well as it could for these individuals. And so we're talking private money. There's a myth out there, Andrew. A lot of people confuse hard money with private money, and they like to use it as interchangeable terms. And so here's how I distinguish hard money from private money. Private money is a one-on-one transaction between you, the borrower, your real estate entity, and that individual that's either using their investment capital and or retirement funds to fund your deal. That's private money. When I talk about hard money, I'm thinking about still institutional money. A hard money lender, as I talk about it, is typically a broker of money that has gone out and raised money from individuals,
Right.
right, to invest in their fund. And then the hard money lender in turn loans that out, charges a higher interest rate than they're paying the individuals, charges origination fees, and et cetera. So with this private money, there are no points, there are no origination fees because there's no broker to pay.
Right.
So it's just that direct transaction between that individual and you. So think of the private money lender as the bank.
Okay.
So another misconception that's out there is that you're going to share in the profits with your private lender. Well, it's your business. You can do what you want to, but my private lenders don't get any of the profit of the business. They just get that set rate of return. I've been paying my private lenders 8% annual percentage rate ever since 2009 when I started doing this. So again, no institutional money. Another big thing about this water private money is guess what? You as the borrower, you're already approved. There are no applications, there are no credit checks, and you get to make the rules. You see, I had to get my mind wrapped around that years ago. Instead of begging, chasing, selling, trying to persuade people, I'm simply offering an opportunity. I've never pitched a deal. We'll talk about that if time permits. I've got that's called the good news phone call script, the good news phone call script. But one of the secret sauce, and I'll turn it back over to you, Andrew. The big part of the secret sauce is separating conversations with a new potential private lender about your opportunity and then having a deal for them to fund. If you talk about your deal in the very first conversation with a potential private lender that's in your network or connections or whatever, and you're talking about a deal, number one, you sound desperate. And listen, desperation has a smell to it, right? The worst time to
Exactly.
be raising private money is when you need it
Yes.
for a deal. So it's all about relationship capital, getting the money pledged first and then coming back with the good news phone call and delivering on your promise that you'll be able to put their money to work.
Yeah, that's amazing. That was actually a question that I had as you were talking about that. Do you think, Jay, in your opinion, been doing this for such a long time, do you think private money is more about like if I'm trying to raise private money, my real estate knowledge that I bring to the table, or is this like more of an emotional intelligence, relationship building first, and then the deal, the real estate part comes second?
Well, it's really both. It's really both. Um, I mean, that the private lender has got to trust that you know what you're doing. Ever how you establish that credibility. If you're brand new and you've never done a real estate deal and you've never, borrowed private money or raised money, then for that lender to be trusting you, you better have a business partner that knows what they're doing. So,
Right.
in my mastermind group and my Platinum Plus clients that I have, they get to leverage my experience. So they may have never done a deal themselves personally, but they're able to say truthfully that, yeah, my business partner and I have flipped over 500 houses. I just, of course, happen to have done all of them up
Yeah.
until that point.
Right.
But, leverage your relationships, or if you have a coach, I hope you get a coach. I was in this business for 6 years before I got a coach and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
You and me
So,
both, man.
and so, I mean, if you think coaching is expensive, try a different kind of education and getting out there and not knowing what you're doing when you think you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You learn the hard way, definitely. And I've been there before. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. Find a coach, find someone like yourself, especially if you're trying to look for private money, who's been there and done that. That's a good segue here, Jay, for something I've always kind of been curious about too in the private money lending space. What's the biggest mistake someone who's just trying, other than not going in with a coach or with a mentor of how to kind of traverse this land here? What's the biggest mistake a newbie who's looking for private money might make here?
Well, one for sure, I just mentioned trying to pitch a deal and they don't even know what you're talking about. They don't even know that you've got like, an opportunity with. The second thing is when you're talking with a potential private lender, one big mistake is the real estate investor, the new capital raiser, doesn't even have a program laid out. What are you going to talk about? Like what are you offering? right? So when my students duplicate what I offer to my private lenders, it just works out beautifully because you're seen as having a professional opportunity and plan in place. So, what interest rate are you going to offer your private lenders, regardless of the deal? I've been
Hmm.
paying 8% all these years. How are you going to protect them? How do you make it safe? How do you make it secure? What's your maximum loan to value of the after repaired value, say on a single family house?
Yeah.
So how are you going to make it conservative for your lenders? Do you have a way for them to get their money back early or not in case they have an emergency come up? What's the length of the note that you're going to offer? What's the frequency of payments that you're going to talk about? What's the minimum amount you're going to accept as a principal loan amount? So in the program that I offer, the opportunity that I offer, there's 20 points laid out that you would want to cover with a potential private lender once you have diagnosed that they might even be interested.
Okay.
Andrew, I might have told you my definition of malpractice. I'm not sure. My
Not yet.
favorite my definition of malpractice regarding a doctor would be for them to give you a prescription before they have done a diagnosis. So I'm not going around throwing up on people in my network saying, hey, let me tell you how excited I am about this opportunity I've got until I first diagnose that they're even looking for an opportunity. And so, we have different scripts on that, the direct method, the indirect method. Here's a real super easy one, Andrew. And by the way, we talk about and bring about private money just in our daily conversations with people, right?
Hmm.
There's three main categories of where you find private lenders: your current connections, which is broken down into three subcategories: your social circle, co-workers, a professional circle, and your service circle. So, let's say you and I are having a coffee, Andrew, and I just love, by the way, segues. I just say, by the way, Andrew, with the markets, with what they're doing these days, are you investing in anything that's giving you a high rate of return safely and securely? And then I shut up. It's just that simple. Or what are you investing in these days? Real simple, very casual, no pitchy. I'm just in the midst of a conversation. Well, their answer is going to give you the diagnosis. If they say something like, yeah, man, I got 15% last year, I'm not going to even bring up private money. I'm going to say, man, where can I get some of that 15%?
Yeah.
Right? But if they say, "Oh man, my 401k is going nowhere," or the stock market is up and down and up and down, and that's sort of making me scared the older I get. Well, if they give that kind of response, then that opens up a conversation about private money. And then, there you go. And then, you may follow up with a question of, well, have you ever heard of private money? And in all probability, they haven't. And then I can tell them what private money is. And then, the conversation goes along. I say, I'm doing these real estate deals. And what's fascinating about these flips and these real estate deals I'm doing is not the real estate. The fascinating part is the private lenders I'm doing business with and the insane high rates of return that I'm paying them.
Yeah.
Shut up. I mean, are they going to say, what kind of high rates are you paying? I've been paying them 8% since 2009 and they love it.
Yeah.
Shut up. So I'm just diagnosing if there's any interest. Again, no chasing, no begging, no selling, no persuading. You're just having casual conversations. You diagnose they have an interest. And instead of going into this long 45-minute conversation about how the whole program works, I say, well, I got a simple little 16-minute audio I can text you that gives you an overview as to how this program works. Can I text it to you?
Yeah.
Now, that little 16-minute audio does the heavy lifting, and it's got the call to action at the end of it. If they want to hear more about the details, then text me and we'll go over the whole thing as the way it works.
I love
So
that.
I don't want to waste all this time of throwing up on people unless I first diagnosed. I text them a little 16-minute audio. I've recorded that for hundreds and hundreds of my students and customize it for them. And again, it's all framed again to where you're not asking, you're not applying, you're not chasing, you're
Yeah.
educating and offering.
I can definitely see now, Jay, like what we were talking about earlier. Instead of saying, "Hey, Jay, I have a deal," and it feels rushed and a little bit desperate. Now that I see the lead up to that, how important it is to have this diagnostic conversation prior to even mentioning a deal.
Yeah.
It is
I mean,
night and day.
exactly. I mean, it takes all the pressure off.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't have this deal under contract that I got to go find money for. I mean, Andrew, let me ask you a question. And I'm going to take a little risk here.
sure.
I think I know your answer, but here's the question. Have you ever heard the guru on the platform or stage stand up and look at a bunch of new real estate investors that he or she is teaching and say something along these lines? Just get the deal under contract. The money will show up.
Yes.
You heard that?
Yeah.
Have you heard them say, money finds good deals? You heard that?
Yes.
That's the most stupid hogwash I ever heard in my life, because I hear students that have bought into that. They go get a deal under contract. Now, where in the world am I going to get the money? I mean,
Yeah.
is a drone going to fly over your front porch and drop you a bag of money
I
because money,
hope so, but no, that's not happening.
you know? So it takes all the pressure off. And when you're talking about your private money opportunity with a potential lender, and and you honestly say, well, I don't have anything for you today, but I anticipate I have something for you probably in less than a month, or how often you're doing deals.
Yeah.
Then again, no pressure.
I
You call them
honestly
up.
think, Jay, that approach almost entices the curiosity out of them even more, because they would most likely be assuming, if you had that conversation with them around, are you interested in private money? This is what it is. And then they're like, oh, he's going to ask me about a deal. And then you just kind of let it sit and you don't bring this, urgency situation, desperate situation up. I love that approach. Jay, I know we're kind of coming up on time here, but I'd love to have you talk a little bit about the program that you offer, because I've heard you talk on stage quite a bit. We've formed this relationship. I'm learning so much from you about this space. It's just really fascinating to me about all the knowledge that you bring. But if anyone out there is interested in also learning from you or trying to figure out, can you walk us through just like the phases of your program and then what those look like?
Right now, when you're talking about my program, you're talking about my coaching program and how people learn, or are you talking about my program and opportunity that I offer the private lenders?
The former for right now. Yeah.
So how other real estate investors can learn how
Can
to
learn
do
private
this?
money. Yes.
Sure. Well, I got 3 ways they can start.
Okay.
So I don't want to confuse your audience, but I want them to, have options as well. The fastest way, the absolute fastest way to get hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s in private money raised is to immerse yourself. Immersion. And if you want to learn how to speak Spanish, go move to Mexico. You're immersing yourself in the situation. So for 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I do a live in-person conference. It's called the Private Money Conference. And it's a deep dive into all this for 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I've got another one coming up very, very soon. And it's not just about private money. I mean, I do the first half day all on private money. The afternoon, we actually get on a 55 passenger bus, go out into the field and look at real houses that we're doing. And they're all funded with private money. And I've got the rehab budget sheet there. You can see what everything is costing on these houses. So if anybody's interested in learning it's one thing to raise the private money, but how are you going to use it, right? Well, if you're a wholesaler, you can stay in the deals that you want to and still wholesale the deals off, otherwise. But we do the bus tour, how to find deals. I teach how to find deals in this market, from off-market sellers, et cetera, how to automate the business. You meet my entire dream team as to how I automate the business, my general contractors, realtor, real estate attorney, interior designer, and all that. So anyway, it's a $3,000 event, but guess what, Andrew? Because your audience is listening, I'm going to give out a URL right now that just gets rid of that totally. It's only a $97 registration fee for one person and a guest to just reserve their seat. So you might as well say I'm giving it away. You can go check all that out at www.jconnor, and I'm an ER, not an OR, /event, jconnor.com/event. Awesome. Secondly, my national best-selling book, be glad to express mail it to your audience. It's called Where to Get the Money Now. It's got the complete program in the book, the opportunity that I offer private lenders. Very, very easy to read and understand. Don't give $20 to Amazon. You can pick up the book for free, just cover shipping and handling at jconnor.com /book. And then finally, while you're waiting, you're going to want to go ahead and get registered for the live event. But while you're waiting for the live event to come up and for the book to come in the mail, right now, immediately, you can download my brand new Private Money $1 Million collection of scripts. Private Money $1 Million scripts.
Awesome.
And so here is the URL for that, jconnor.com/scripts. And that PDF will come down immediately. How to start a conversation with a potential private lender.
That is awesome, Jay. Thank you so much for sharing those three things, especially the private event. I talked to you about connecting when I go down in July, I think, to Emerald Isle. So definitely want to attend one of those in the very, very near future. Jay, before we part ways here, you've already shared so much and then given so much value with those resources. The book I'm interested in, so I'm going to pick that up as well for myself. I'm an avid reader. What are some of the things, I think you mentioned it a little, but what are some of the things people will learn from that book? You said that's your private money program that gives an overview of how this whole world works.
Yeah. So one thing they're going to learn are the 5 steps, simple 5 steps of going from no money to a lot of private money. And so, what do you do first? What do you do second? Very, very easy. It's going to lay that out. And then I've got a great chapter on how to have a very successful private lender luncheon. So that's where, I've had a private lender luncheon that I've hosted and gotten $969,000
Wow.
in private money pledged with no deals attached to it. It's just sitting there on the shelf, ready to deploy. Just think how many more offers you're going to make on real estate when you've got $500,000 or more.
Your doors are going to open. I think that's an amazing statement you just made. You raised over almost $1 million from one luncheon with absolutely no deals to use that money for. How much of a different position are you in as a real estate investor, wholesaler, however you want to, describe yourself, if you're going in funded like that? That is world life-changing.
Yes. Well, your confidence.
Yeah.
The more confident you are, where the money's going to come from, you're going to make the offers. So here in chapter 7 on page 101, I lay out step by step, what are the points, the talking points, when you're talking with a new potential private lender. What is it that you're going to offer them? And I talked a little bit about that, but it's all laid out here in the book. Chapter 9 on page 123, the power of getting your deals funded by using people's retirement funds that are in a self-directed IRA. The book goes and talks about what are self-directed IRAs and how you can leverage that with people using retirement funds. And I got a whole chapter here on how to get the word out on automatic about the opportunity that you're offering, so you don't have to be running around town with your hair on fire.
Yeah.
That's actually using the 16-minute audio that I was talking about. And then I go over the documentation that you'll be using for every closing. There's only 5 documents. It's not a stack of papers like that from an institutional lender. It's very a stack simple. Like that. Yeah. So yes, it covers it from A to Z.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for coming here and talking to us about private money. I know there's so much more that we could dive into here, but even what we took away today, it changed how I look at things. So go to the website, and I'll drop this in the episode as well. So look down if you're interested in the event, in the book, in the scripts. Jay Connor, thank you so much for being here.
Andrew, thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to see you again in person.
Yes.
At the Private Money Conference.
Yes, sir. Take care, Jay. Stick around for a sec after this so we can catch up on some things, but thanks again for being on the show.
You got it. Thank you.
All right. Take care.